It's always funny to look back at what scared us as kids and why, especially the totally illogical aspects of a child's mind, such as being petrified to take a bath after watching Jaws. Yep, that was me. So whilst thinking about this and the various aspects of what scared me on Doctor Who, for example, I remembered a BBC TV drama that really scared me, and I mean really scared me. It probably caused me some sort of psychological damage. The programme was so scary to me, and probably unknown to a lot of people, I felt the need for it to have its own dedicated video, so here it is. Once again, a departure from our usual subject matter here on the Retro Shed. Today we're taking a look back at the BBC drama The Nightmare Man. Ooh, scary. On Friday the 1st of May 1981 at 8:20 p.m, the BBC screened the first episode of a 4-part sci-fi horror serial called The Nightmare Man.
Now BBC One begins a new series, a 4-part dramatisation of a David Wiltshire mystery thriller, The Nightmare Man.
Set on the fictional remote Scottish island of Inverdy, the story revolves around the inhabitants of the island getting stalked by a shadowy and vicious killer. The story begins with the arrival of a lady and a male visitor to the island via ferry. Now the lady unfortunately soon becomes the killer's first victim, and the gentleman turns out to be a member of the military on the island on holiday. Does not sound right to me. Soon enough, people start getting killed and the inhabitants of the island are terrorised by something unknown.
There's been a murder.
Human, animal, or something else entirely, we just don't know. Now I must say now, there are going to be spoilers to the story in this video, so if you do feel like checking out The Nightmare Man for yourself, please do so and stop watching this video. Come back later, you have been warned. Over the next 4 weeks there were 4 30-minute episodes, and it soon becomes pretty obvious that the inhabitants are dealing with something otherworldly and very dangerous indeed. Now, I was 10 years old when this was shown and it bloody terrified me, seriously. Memories of this programme stayed with me all my life, and 20 years later I managed to track down a copy of the original book that the story was adapted from, Child of Vodyanoi by David Wiltshire, and the book is even scarier than the TV show. So to begin this story we need to go back to 1978, when real-life qualified dentist and part-time author David Wiltshire decided to write his second book entitled Child of Vodyanoi. Inspiration for the story came from the 1951 movie The Thing from Another World, which of course was remade in 1984 by John Carpenter and the title shortened to just The Thing. Incidentally, this happens to be one of my favourite movies of all time, and if you've not seen The Thing, for God's sake go check it out, because it's absolutely wonderful. Right, so if you're wondering what exactly is a Vodyanoi, well, it's a mythical Russian water demon. Vodyanoi means watery in Russian, and the creature is supposedly a fish or frog-like water-dwelling thing with glowing eyes that can fly above or below the water. I suspect it's generally unpleasant. This also gives a bit of a clue about what kind of antagonist is preying on the poor inhabitants of Inverdy Island. The book, Child of Vodyanoi, was chosen by BBC producer Ron Craddock to be developed into a TV series. Actually, that's not quite correct. His secretary chose Child of Vodyanoi after Ron asked her to read it along with another book over a long weekend. In July of 1980, formal rights were requested and the book was to be adapted into 4 30-minute episodes to be screened the following year. The book was adapted into a screenplay by veteran Doctor Who writer Robert Holmes, who also worked on Blake 7, another favourite TV show of mine back in the day. As is always the way with screen adaptations of books, some differences to the original story had to be made, and it's a shame that some of the truly creepy set pieces from the book had to be left out. The beginning and ending of the book is different to the TV show, and personally I think the ending of the book is much scarier than what we see on TV. The ending of the show always felt a bit rushed to me, but more on that later. The series was directed by Douglas Camfield, who also worked on titles such as Doctor Who, The Sweeney and The Professionals. The main characters of the story include hero dentist Michael Gafferkin, played by James Warwick. His pharmacist girlfriend, Fiona Patterson, is played by Celia Imrie. Police Inspector Inskip is played by Maurice Rose. British Army Colonel Howard is played by Jonathan Newth. Supporting cast members include Police Sergeant Karch, played by James Cosmo, PC Malcolmson, played by Fraser Wilson, Dr. Gowdry, played by Tom Watson, and of course our killer, played by Pat Gorman. Pat Gorman also played many roles in Doctor Who, Blake Seven and other such shows, but usually these were minor roles and often in heavy costumes such as dressed up as a Cyberman. He often went uncredited. The story begins with Gafferkin discovering the gruesome remains of the aforementioned female from the ferry on a golf course. She appears to have been torn apart and her innards have been thrown all over the place from trees and branches by something unknown of incredible strength and power. Strange marks are found on her corpse that appear to be some sort of bite mark but made by deformed teeth, possibly not human. Now, good use of the hero's dentistry skills come into play here. In the novel, the victim also suffers a sexual assault, but this line was dropped from the TV show. Soon the island becomes cut off from the mainland by storm and a fog descends over the land and things start to intensify dramatically. Cue excessive use of fog machines by the production crew. Also visiting the island is an ornithologist called Simmons, and he can usually be found wandering the hills alone, armed with a pair of binoculars, a tape recorder and a faulty camera. He pops into town every now and then for his films to be developed, but camps out alone on the moors overnight. The guy may as well be wearing a red Star Trek shirt because you just know he's going to cop it. And soon enough he does end up copping it one evening in his tent as he sits there alone narrating into his tape recorder. This scene absolutely terrified me, and the killer's point of view was always covered with some kind of red filter, and all you do is hear his guttural inhuman shrieks and strange noises as he tears apart the hapless birdwatcher. As a kid this was pretty gut-wrenching stuff, and I can remember how bloody scared I was of this scene. I've never forgotten it. Just before the ornithologist gets killed, he was in his tent narrating into his tape recorder, and of course this carries on recording while the attack takes place. Also, his camera has a trigger fault, wouldn't you know, so this is also going off taking shots of the attack whilst it's taking place. The poor birdwatcher's camera and tape recorder soon get recovered along with his body, and the police do get a chance to see exactly what happened and hear the entire attack at the same time. Riveting stuff indeed. Soon, reports of UFOs and flying saucers seen by the islanders come into the police station, and what looks like some sort of alien craft is found on the beach. And this was brought back into town for storage and further investigation. A bit like the derelict from the movie Alien, I remember seeing this craft and thinking, what the hell is that? It's not human made, whatever it is, stay the hell away from it. Traces of radiation are found on the island, specifically where the attacks are taking place. And at this point it's obvious we're dealing with no normal killer, and all the evidence would suggest that some otherworldly creature has made its way onto the island and is causing confusion and delay. And death, of course. There follows an attack on the Coast Guard station, which was also pretty damn scary, as the men in the station luckily have a Geiger counter, and you see this rise and fall as the creature stalks around outside. It's quite suspenseful, to be fair, and as a kid, again, I was quite scared. The men get picked off one by one with a classic, I'm just going to go outside and check on something, and eventually the creature smashes its way into the station to attack the remaining bloke. Now, to add to matters, a platoon of British paratroopers soon arrive on the island and appear to be under the command of this strange Colonel Howard. This was the chap that came across on the ferry at the beginning of the story. The plot thickens. It's obvious at this point that the military are somehow involved with what's going on. Now, in the best manner of sci-fi horror such as Alien and The Thing, you do get glimpses of the killer with lots of red-filtered POV and guttural sounds. It's truly scary stuff, but the creature is not fully revealed until the last moments of episode 4. Now, is the creature an alien that's crashed onto the island and being hunted by the military? Well, not quite. The creature turns out to be a Russian submariner, a modified human submariner that is part of a Russian weapon system called the Vodyanoi. The craft on the beach is his one-man submarine stroke weapons delivery system. The Vodyanoi is a one-man submersible weapon piloted by a specially trained and modified human who interfaces directly with the craft and becomes part of the weapon itself. The pilot literally plugs himself into the craft and becomes the weapon's brain. It's a fascinating idea that's been explored a few times by various sci-fi writers in the past. After the craft crashes onto the island, the radiation-exposed pilot tears himself from the Vodyanoi and leaves part of his conscious brain contained within the craft. And at this point it's fair to say that he's not really much of a human being anymore, and he goes on the rampage as a deranged killing machine. The British paratroopers are also nothing of the sort and turn out to be a bunch of Russian submariners looking for their lost comrade. There is also the threat that the Vodyanoi warhead is leaking, and a chemical threat also hangs over the island. Luckily, the Russians have brought the antidote for this eventuality and distribute this amongst the islanders, just in case. Lovely people they are, Russians. This leads us to the inevitable conclusion and showdown as they find the deranged Russian radioactive psycho killer on a golf course of all places. Filming took place primarily in Cornwall during January of 1981, and I've dragged my poor wife to almost all the filming locations that are still there and recognisable. Not that she minds being dragged around Cornwall, of course, because it's quite beautiful and one of our favourite places to go in the world. Filming locations include Port Isaac, where Fiona's chemist shop is located. The old school restaurant and hotel was also used by the production team for storage and also served as the exterior of the police station. And the old fish cellar down in the town was also used as a location where the fiberglass Vodyanoi craft is taken and stored. Trebarwith Strand was used as the beach location where the strange Vodyanoi craft was found washed up. Lots of red filters and fogging machines were used during production to create the eerie effect of an island cut off by fog and bad weather. The Nightmare Man was one of the first television programmes to be recorded directly onto videotape rather than being shot on conventional film. This allowed for easier editing, and a lightweight video camera was also used handheld to get the killer point of view shots. The programme was broadcast in May of 1981 and received very little promotion or pre-publicity. A paperback version of Child of Vodyanoi was also released as a tie-in, now retitled The Nightmare Man. Now a major BBC TV serial was slapped on the front of the book. The author, David Wiltshire, disliked the alternate end of the story where the killer is just killed on a golf course. And no, it wasn't by being hit by a ball, he just ended up getting shot by the dentist. The book ending is much spookier, taking place in a forest at night, and I agree with David that it was a much better ending. The programme ending seemed a bit rushed. The serial has never been repeated on terrestrial television, and for a while I understand the original tapes were actually lost. In the late 90s I managed to get hold of a VHS copy that I got off someone from a forum. Now this chap I was speaking to on the forum said he knew somebody that had a VHS tape with copies of the original BBC televised editions. He said if I sent him a tape he would copy them all for me onto one volume, and he kindly did. The episodes that this chap managed to get down on VHS for me actually include the pre-production countdown clock that viewers normally never get to see, so this really was copies of the original BBC volumes. In 2005, BBC Worldwide released The Nightmare Man onto DVD, and if you've not seen it, I suggest you go out and find it. Also, go and find a copy of David Wiltshire's excellent book. It is a lot scarier and violent than the TV show. Watching it today, of course, you do laugh at some of the incredibly cheesy dialogue and special effects, but come on, this was 1981. It's great to see the Cornish locations used and old vehicles and technology. But if you still enjoy the likes of old Doctor Who and Blake Seven and stuff like this, you'll absolutely love The Nightmare Man. I can honestly say anyone who saw The Nightmare Man in 1981 has probably never forgotten it. It certainly left its mark on me, and considering it's never been repeated on TV, it's surprising how vividly I remember it from my childhood. I've been in touch with the author David Wiltshire on and off over the years, and we've discussed movies and TV that scared us and agreed that the likes of Jaws and The Thing and Alien are right up there as some of the most influentially scary movies of all time. He made me laugh when he said he wrote some of the story in the bath and it scared him so much he got the shivers and had to get out whilst he was writing it. Well, all I can say is a massive thanks to David for writing this brilliant sci-fi chiller. It certainly left its mark on me. Well, thank you for watching this retrospective on The Nightmare Man, or Child of Vodyanoi if you prefer the original title. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you ever saw it or remembered it. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Go out and find it. Go and buy the book. Go and have a look and see if you can find it on DVD. Guarantee you will not be disappointed. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you again soon.